there, welcome back to the Everyday Artisan. I am Jackie, and today it is time for me to start a new journal as my old journal is full. A family friend encouraged me to share my journals with you all, and while I did hesitate for a while, I decided that it would be really wonderful to share something that has had such a profound impact on my own life. I have an ADHD brain. There's always a million things running through my mind like a herd of wild ponies. One of our family's common remarks to several of us that think this way is squirrel, because we're constantly running from one interest or activity to another. It is entertaining up to a point, but over a lifetime, it can cause a lot of uncomfortable or unpleasant experiences. I am guilty of socially overbooking, forgetting important dates, impulsively buying things for a rainy day to use, and many more things that come part and parcel with having an ADHD brain. So about 20 years ago, my dad gifted me with a day-long seminar with Franklin Covey where I learned how to both prioritize my day and how to use the lovely planner that came along with it. And honestly, to this day, I use the tools and strategies that I learned in that seminar. I used that planner for several years, and then one day I set it down and lost it, which was sadly very typical of me at that time. And when I couldn't find it, it was expensive and I was embarrassed to ask for help to buy another one because I had not taken care of. So many things when you're forgetful like this become moral problems rather than just a function of the way your brain works. But this did set off a decades-long cycle of me looking for a planner, researching it, getting really excited about finding a new one, trying it out, eventually losing interest, misplacing it, moving onward, and starting the cycle over and over and over again. When I would re-find one of these planners, I would pick it up and I would go so frustrated with myself because there would be empty pages, days or even weeks, where I had lost track of time. And during those days and weeks, I had little slips of paper. I was trying to use my phone in the early days. This was pretty long ago before the phones were quite so useful. But anyways, those missing days and empty pages were evidence of my scatterbrained behavior, and it drove me crazy. And then I would buy a new calendar, swearing it would be different this time. But one of the truths in all of this is that actually my brain didn't fit into one of these calendars. They were very structured, which for some people is very good, but for me, I didn't think that way. Standard calendars were often had details that were frustrating to me or not enough pages for when I needed to write something longer, and trying to keep everything in one spot was difficult with a standard calendar. So one day, across one of my social media feeds came the idea of bullet journaling. And while I know we don't like to know that our computers and phones are tracking what we're doing, this was actually one of the greatest gifts of data mining that I personally have ever received. I will be linking that first video below in the show notes so that you can take a look at how straightforward and simple bullet journaling can be. I loved how the presenter offered this up as something that could be tailored exactly to the way you wanted your planner to be. It could be anything, and it could reflect your needs and your responsibilities and your priorities. Thank you, Franklin Covey. And could be set up in a way that made the most sense to you because you were in complete control. So I tracked down my first dot journal, the Lectern 1917. At that time, you couldn't buy these everywhere like you can now. You can walk into Target and get them, Muji, Barnes & Noble, any art store. You can find these everywhere now, Amazon obviously. But back then, you couldn't really find them very easily. So I had to order it from the company, and I waited with anticipation and excitement. And when I got it, I immediately turned on that video and I started to lay out my first journal with the basics. A year at a glance, passwords, because I was constantly forgetting and losing passwords, which caused me an intense amount of annoyance weekly. So that was one of my priorities. I needed a place that I could hold those all the time. Then I set up my first monthly calendar, and then I set up my first weekly calendar, and I was all set to go. This might seem like a lot, but it literally only took me about 45 minutes and I was all ready to go. After that, I opened my journal and I made my first to-do list, left it open on my dining room table, and got on with my day. I stopped in to check things off as I needed to, and then when I was done with everything that was on my list that I needed to do, I added a few more things to it that I wanted to do, did those things and checked those off as well for the added endorphin rush. As the days and weeks passed and I used it, I couldn't believe how this simple analog tool was helping me keep track of all the little things that used to slip through my brain, slip through my fingers, be on little pieces of paper in my purse, stuck on the fridge, written on a calendar, keeping it all in one spot. I couldn't believe how much it helped my ADHD brain. I was getting through my responsibilities, I was remembering events and dates, and I was starting to feel more confident overall. What I did was I set up my calendar in a way that made sense to me. For example, the week for me begins on Monday and ends on the weekend. And the split weekends that is standard in most calendars was always a bit of a bug to me. So I made my calendars reflect the way I looked at the week. Then I could quickly overview a weekly setup on Monday morning and make sure that I set time aside for both my responsibilities, my goals, dinner ideas, which was always a stressor for me, and then also scheduling in and seeing that I had fun stuff on my calendar too. My bullet journal also helped me get better at time blindness, which is really typical in many people where you think, oh my goodness, this is going to take so long. Procrastinate, or the reverse of that. Oh, this will only take me 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're in elbows deep for 2 hours and you haven't done the dishes, prepared dinner, and you forgot to pick your kid up from dance practice. With a few focused and dedicated minutes at the beginning of the week, I could realistically think and then plan what I needed to do and block out the time to help me get through all of my different tasks. And when I scheduled things like this, my anxiety and my worry that I was missing something decreased exponentially as well. Of course, this is an ever-evolving practice. My bullet journal changes constantly, and I also find that my time awareness has grown over the years in using this and practicing it, because of course, whenever we start something, it seems hard, but over time, and practicing it, it gets easier and easier and easier. As the weeks passed, I found many online communities dedicated to using bullet journals. Some were full of creative ways to add a bit of flair and creativity through creative hand lettering, artistic additions such as drawing and collage, and many more ways to use and track things that were important. Now, I loved this and added many habit trackers that honestly I most often never followed through on, but over the years I found that I ebbed and flowed with all these creative endeavors depending on how busy my life was. The magic that has sustained me through this process is that my bullet journal is for me. No one else, just me. I find that I changed my monthly and weekly layouts as I am drawn to. If I finish a journal mid-year, I just buy a new one and continue onward. There are no empty pages to cause me to feel disappointed in myself, and it is a continuum of my life over the last 7 years. I take notes in my journal. I journal in my journal. I keep track of the books I have read. I write down my gratitudes. I write down inspirational quotes to turn to when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I put my grocery lists alongside my collaged vision boards. If I'm feeling creative, I add things. And if I'm super busy, a quick scribbled list in pencil or ballpoint pen is all that happens. Sometimes it is beautiful, and sometimes it is messy. There is no judgment. because I never need to show this journal to anyone. It is only for me. I am not exaggerating when I say that my bullet journal changed my life. One of my favorite times of day is sitting down and planning. Often at the beginning of the day, I will review what has gone past and what is coming up. Bullet journaling has helped me collect my thoughts and has helped me show up in my life in a way that I didn't think was previously possible. We are all constantly changing and growing, and that's good. And bullet journaling can be a really helpful record of that. For me, my bullet journal is both evidence of and celebration of my quirky brain. And each new book or empty page is full of possibilities. If you haven't tried it yet, I really encourage you to give it a little try. To get you started, I am going to link both the first bullet journal video that I ever watched and two of my favorite bullet journal creators on YouTube, Shayda Campbell and Jessica and the Moon. And you'll find their links in the show notes below. Make sure you check them out. I hope this video was useful to you, and now I'm going to take the time to move into my new bullet journal. I hope you have a wonderful day and give it a try. You won't regret it.